Damn, it's been a long, long time since we met, and glad you're back. Welcome to the Alpha Premiere and to another episode of Let's Talk About Anime or Let's Talk Anime, whichever you want to call it. It's just me casually talking about stuff in anime or like the concepts that are inside anime or related to anime in general, basically. So let's talk anime. Today we're going to talk about different terminologies and one of the main terminologies that we're going to discuss is called otaku. So the concept, or I would say the word otaku, is originally from Japan, which means house or you in a formal way, like you as a person. But usually it's like used to describe people with obsession or interest in stuff that are anime, manga, or video games, especially related to Japanese animes, mangas, and video games, obviously. And the meaning can be like, oh, I am otaku, I'm interested in it, and I'm into animes and games. It could be taken as a term like that when it's amongst peers. But being an obsessive otaku in Japan can be considered as a negative connotation, implying someone who has social withdrawals. Well, outside of Japan, it is just considered as an enthusiasm, or I would say some form of, I would say, geekiness, in my opinion. It's basically, I guess, I would consider it somewhat like close to a geek in Japanese terminologies, basically. Someone who is like too obsessed with a particular thing. But otaku is generally like associated with something that is like considered in the realm of entertainment, or I would say amusement. Basically, it could be like any particular hobby related, whether it could be collection of rare I would say cards, art, or I would say rare stamps, rare coins, anything. So it could be game. It's not like in general outside of Japan. It's mainly considered in a small realm where it's like manga, games, or anime from Japan. And if someone is obsessed with it, it's called otaku. Now you all may have confused otaku with weeb, and which is the just a short version of a term called weeaboo, which is a Western slang for people who are obsessed with uh, Japanese culture or Japanese stuff in general. Like it's like the Japanese obsession. Like here, you guys have heard of terms like Koreaboo. It's same like that. It's just weeaboo means obsession or who idolizes Japanese culture, like from the format of animes, mangas, or I would say, what's it called? The J drama? Yeah, J drama in that format. So these people are called weeps. They are too attached or obsessed with the cultures that are portrayed from these entertainment medias that they are called weeps. Now, for different perspective, when you're considering whole as a world as a whole, the person when you are called otaku outside of Japan, it's not a bad terminology. It's someone like who's healthily obsessed, or I would say healthily into Japanese culture, whether it's Japanese drama, Japanese movie, Japanese manga, anime, or anything that portrays Japanese culture through an entertainment media. But when you say we, it's considered as a slang or like a negative connotation or derogatory term where someone is overly obsessed with the particular culture or particular thing that they are like going haywire and stuff like that. Uh, I think the similar connotation for people that are overly obsessed fans of the Korean culture, like overly obsessed fans of a particular like personality in Korea. I think they're called sasengs. I think is kind of like a similar terminology, but obviously not true because like sasengs are mainly obsessed with in real life person, uh, like individuals who are like performing whether movies, theaters, K-pop songs, K-drama series or whatever. But weebs are more obsessed towards entertainment media such as mostly towards manga and what's it called, games and animes. So they're kind of like have an unhealthy obsession with 2D effect or 3D whatever media you're consuming. So yeah, the key differences are like when you say weeb like outside of Japan, it's considered as an cringe terminology or like cringe, a person who is like way too clingy and way too like overly creepily obsessed over Japanese stuff. Whereas otaku is just like, oh, I'm a fan, I'm a hardcore fan of anime, mangas, and games from Japan and kind of stuff like that. Where in Japan, otaku is also considered as a bad terminology because it's like your social need. Basically, you're considered because obviously the term otaku, as I said before, is considered like a word which means house or you in formal way. So it's kind of term considered as a term of like way of saying like neat. But obviously, neat is completely a different term. The word neat, N-E-E-T, neat stands for not in education, employment, or training. N-E-E-T, neat. Well, otakus can be persons who are rich with bags and are like these whales who buy anime merchandises and like spend a lot of money in anime and mangas, and like they have the funds, right? So they're earning their funds from their jobs, and they're expensive, like they're like expensively, like they're not expensively, sorry, they are extensively spending monies on their frivolous habits. And so in that sense, otakus are not exactly needs, but yeah, in some cases they could be needs. Now comes the question that are otakus nerds? So when you say nerd, the nerd term is kind of taken as a positive way in some cases and negative way in some cases. When you're a nerd, you could be a good nerd. Like as a person who is like in the early ages, nerd could be also taken as a derogatory term, but nerd are usually taken as a term. Oh, you know shit, bro. Like you're like an encyclopedia of a particular thing. You could be a Harry Potter nerd. You could be a Lord of the Rings nerd. Like you're too much into a particular thing, or you're like too much into an extensive lore. Well, in regards, both of them have a negative connotation, but I think the term nerd and is still more respectful word, like when it's like taken in a positive, like it's used in a positive way. But it is nerd is has a negative effect on certain societies like American and European society, when the term nerd is considered as like a negative connotation. Like otaku is considered a negative connotation in Japan, where the person is socially awkward and overly obsessed with particular stuff, and it defines the person's passion in certain stuff. Where otaku is usually from an outside perspective considered usually just anime, manga, video games, whereas nerd can be of multiple things like tech, comics, science fiction, or even a particular franchise or particular brand. It could be anything. The nerd possibility of being a nerd is infinite or like limitless. So the key differences is like o- otaku is limited of Japanese entertainment culture, whereas nerd is on a huge different level of scale. Is the word otaku has a negative connotation in Japan, and outside in West is usually positive or neutral. Whereas nerd is universally neutral, but it could be nerd could be taken, as I've said, in a both negative and positive way. Where if you're a nerd for a good thing or a positive thing, you could be considered as intelligence. or the black term where it's like you're just in the, like something that is looked down upon. It could be social, you are like socially awkward, or you could be taken as a person who is like totally like obsessed or like psychopathic in some regards. Well, like otakus are like the word otaku is originated from Japan. The word nerd, I think, originated from the States. It was not actually an English word. I think Europeans didn't use it. It largely like appeared in the States, and then it was passed on throughout everywhere, every place. And it has a broad interest range, whereas otaku is just like limited to the Japanese sphere, where it's like Japanese culture related stuff. And then we come to the terminology of geek. Now, geek is more of like a positive, like has more positive than negatives. When they say geek, I would say is a positive version. Like when it comes to communities, where like for example, if you're in certain community of certain things, like there are community of like book readers, the word geek is more like a positive terminology, where is I think the closest that it comes to otaku, to be honest. Like when you're when you're enthusiastic about pop culture, technology, hobbies, comics, movies, and video games in an entertainment sphere, you're considered geek. You can be a Marvel geek, you can be a Star Wars geek, you could be a particular franchise geek, you could be a in general science fictional geek. You have extensive knowledge of the stuff because it interests you and you study their lore. So it could be considered geeks are, I think, more positively acceptable terms, where it has a negative connotation, as I said, same way nerds, where nerds could be seen positive and negative, where it could be intelligence or niche, or it could be like social awkwardness. And geeks, while respected amongst the society or like the community where they belong, outside could be considered as a negative thing. But usually geeks in like in this realm of society is a negative connotation, but the word geek in the particular community is a positive word, basically. Whereas nerd is from just from our perspective could be like a negative or a positive. Like could be considered both from the outside perspective, but from the outside perspective, geeks are usually considered as a negative connotation, but inside the community, it's a positive connotation. Next, geeks are just like considered like they are into habits, but geeks are usually considered more social and expressive. But when it comes to their hobbies, whereas stereotypes of nerds are they are usually socially awkward and introverted, whereas I don't know if that's the correct word, but geeks are ambiverts basically. They are out like they are extroverts when it comes to talking about the topics that they like, but they are usually socially awkward. They're like not equipped with other topics, so they're silent when it comes to other topics. Whereas like I think nerds study or like learn where like for the sake of learning, whereas geeks I think develop interacting amongst their communities. I don't know if it's a correct example or not, but I think it's kind of in that sphere. So I think geeks are more similar to otaku, and like they're similar in a lot of ways. It's like geeks. What geek is a general term where it's consists of large parameter, and it's not just like centered, like or like they are not just used for people who are attracted to Asian cultures, like such as anime, manga. These are Japanese words, but these are applied to anything that is Asian, where it's similar to that. geek is a universal word which could be applied to any cultural obsession, or like not like a person who's like into any cultures, anything, like whether it's French music, you can be a geek. Whether it's German rap, you can be a geek. You could be a geek of anything from any part of the culture, like any culture. So it's kind of has a broader perspective, but it's I think the closest uh like to an otaku. All otakus are geeks, but all geeks are not otakus. That's what I was saying. Now coming to the thing is like the similar goes for needs. Like, but the neat thing is there is I would say there are two circles, and the two circles have a part that intersect each other. Like there's a part that has a common space, and this part, like one circle is neat, one circle is otaku, and there could be a common parameter where the person is an otaku and neat, but all neats are not otakus, and all otakus are also not neats. Now comes to the term that you guys have not might not have heard, or have heard, I don't know, aficionado. So an aficionado is a person who is passionate about something. So a otaku, which has like you could be a person who like otaku, and you could be an enjoyer of certain genre. See, I like anime. I could be considered as an otaku, but am I overly obsessed about it? Do I have extreme knowledge about otakus? No. So otaku who is a, or a otaku who is reached the level of geekness where like he's extremely knowledgeable. He could be considered as an aficionado. Aficionado is a person who has deep passion on of or like has a crave for knowledge and has gained that knowledge about a particular subject or a hobby. So as I've said before, all otakus cannot be aficionados, and all aficionados are obviously not otakus. So aficionado, you for being an aficionado, you have to be an extreme like a very like knowledgeable otaku. There will be like a bunch of it, but all otakus are not a aficionado. Some people just watch stuff because they like stuff. It's like the anime that I've watched recently, like rewatched recently. It's called Gamers, where the guy is just passionate about video games, whereas other people have their things that, oh, I just like the energy of competition. Some say I just like the way of how I explore another world. Is so the main protagonist was be like, oh, I just like video games because it's entertaining. It's just like that. I'm a otaku because I just like watching anime. I don't have any particular purpose. I just watch it. If I enjoy it, I just complete the anime. That's it. So that's an otaku, and a person who just goes deep inside the lore after start loving something. Like for example, if you're loving the Harry Potter lore, you become an aficionado for the Harry Potter genre and the Harry Potter lore. You just go dive deep into it, and you just learn everything about Harry Potter. That's an aficionado for you. But whereas an or like a geek, or I would say a nerd, he might learn like nerd learn for the level for the purpose of running, whereas a geek, he just learn because he's interested. Otaku is just, I'm just enjoying this particular kind of stuff. That's it. So that's all for this video. Hope I'm not yapping too much. I already think it's past like 20 minutes. So 20 or 30 minutes. So I'm not gonna yap anymore. And this is my basic understanding that I wanted to express to y'all. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you like this video, found this very interesting. If so, press the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And there will be a link in the description for my anime channel if you're interested in just watching anime stuff. So yeah, take care. See you later. Peace out.